All right. Looks like we haven't got quorum again, but I'm still going to get started. Invite up Tim Ringsdore from Jersey Telecom. Maybe we can start with a couple of quick chats while we fill the room, and then the trick of these chats is not to deflate your presentation you want to give before we start. But nonetheless, starting with Q&A is also interesting and useful. So you guys are just kind of new to this community. We met with you a month ago, I think, and you're starting to consider spreading some roots. That might be part of your presentation.
Yeah, probably going to steal some of my presentation.
I don't want to do that. But so what have you been doing up till now? You guys have been operating in... You're going to show us a map later on?
I am, yeah.
All right, so you're operating in Jersey, which is off the coast of France.
That's right, yeah. A very small island in between the UK and France. We've been in business for about 130 years now, so we're a very established business. But we offer a wide range of solutions for our customers, and we're creating an environment there which, from what I've heard today, is going to be conducive with some of the innovation that's going on in Silicon Valley and give people the opportunity of testing, with a small operator.
So 130 years in operation as a telco, or?
Well, we came from the post office, obviously, very similar to BT in the old days in the UK. But yeah, so we've grown out of that, moved into telecommunications, and really our environment is surrounded by the finance centre. We've got a huge finance centre in Jersey, so billions of pounds of transactions comes through the Channel Islands every day. And so the telecommunications is absolutely critical for those customers in our environment.
So let me try to ask you 2-3 minutes worth of questions that probably won't deflate from your telecom-centric speech. Tell about Jersey in particular. So what's the weather like there, and how is it that you guys are not the UK but are the UK?
Yeah, well, with the weather, I arrived here. It was nice and sunny. I left Jersey. It was about the same temperature actually. Right. So very similar sort of climate that we have in the island. Obviously not as large. The island's only 45 square miles, so probably not as big as Silicon Valley in its entirety. But we are a Crown dependency, so we're actually still, we report into the Queen. The Queen actually has to sanction all of our laws, but we've got our own parliament. So we're part of the United Kingdom, but we're not actually, we don't have to answer to the parliament in the UK. It's a pretty unique position.
How many territories like that are there?
Well, through the UK, obviously, you've got places like the Isle of Man. You've got Guernsey as well, which is a sister island of ours. Yep. So part of the United Kingdom, there's a combination of British Isles.
And what about, you're very close to France, like how many kilometers away would that be?
We're 14 miles from France and 100 miles from the UK.
And hasn't this island swapped hands a few times or not? I mean,
I mean, this goes back to 1066 when we were, with all of the changes in the wars that went on there. We're part of Norman France at one point, but then when the British conquered Normandy, we became part of the British colony, and we've been that way ever since. They've never tried to invade us or take us over, but
well, they didn't want you back. They kept fighting for Alsace.
I'm sure they do want us because we're very high net worth individuals that live in the Channel Islands. There's a lot of what we classify as 11Ks. There's a lot of millionaires, billionaires who move to the Channel Islands to invest their cash.
So it's kind of like a banking hub like the Caymans or Switzerland? So
that's right, yeah. But we're very important to the UK in terms of the economy, because if we weren't there, obviously, then a lot of investment, fund management that is taking place in the Channel Islands would probably disappear to the Caymans. Right. And then they wouldn't probably do business with London.
I see. Great. So I'm gonna let's officially introduce you and let you get started with your presentation, and then we'll go to Q&A afterwards. So with that, Tim Ringsdore from Jersey Telecom.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I've been sitting in the audience listening to these huge operators talk about hundreds of millions of customers and billions of pounds worth of investment, and I think probably what I'm going to give you today is an insight into probably one of the smallest tier 1 operators you'll ever come across. So hopefully we can give you an insight in terms of what we're doing and how agile we are as an operator, and maybe how we might be attractive to some businesses here in Silicon Valley. So what I'm going to do is just give you a bit of background about myself. I'll talk about the JT Group, and I will explain where Jersey is. You've probably never heard of us, and some of you don't even know where Jersey is, but I will show you a map so that it makes it very clear. I'll be able to give you some background about our capabilities and some of the developments that we're doing. There's a lot of talk. I was interested in latent communications in Australia. You'll see what we're doing, and you'll see that we're actually going to be able to achieve what they're trying to achieve, probably 5 years ahead of what they're going to do. And that's simply because of the size of our jurisdiction. And then maybe a bit of a chat about the opportunity and what we think we've got to offer Silicon Valley and other environments such as this. So, sorry about the slide. Obviously, when it was sent over, it just went a bit out of kilter here. So I'm the Managing Director of the Global Enterprise Division for JT, and my responsibilities are to grow revenues in the Channel Islands and also outside of the Channel Islands. And we've been doing this for a number of years, and some of the technical development that we're doing is going to give us more opportunities to be able to grow our revenues from outside the Channel Islands. As you can imagine, with a very small environment, we've got a limited amount of opportunities to grow our revenues, so it's really important that we attract new business to the Channel Islands and hopefully innovate in a way that we can retain our customers. We've been in competition since about 2000, and that's when I joined the organisation, and we came, as I mentioned before, but as an incumbent, a monopoly. So when I joined the company, it was a very static organisation, and we had to really innovate and develop new products and services before the competition hit us. And now we're competing head-to-head with Cable and Wireless and Bharti Airtel, the mobile operator, and anybody who knows them knows how aggressive they are. And they're in our jurisdiction. So we've had to be very clever in terms of the way that we've reacted to the competition over many years. So I mentioned before, we've been in business 130 years. Our business has been developing over the last decade into a new way of working. We've had to be very agile. We've had to be very flexible, and we've had to partner. One of the things I've been hearing in here is how difficult it is to partner. And I think we've learned how to do that very successfully, because to be able to compete in our environment, if we can't partner with other operators as well as suppliers, we would have probably died many years ago. We've been developing a next-generation network. We've got it in place now, and at the end of this month, all of our TDM switch will be switched off, and all of our customers will be on the new NGN network, which is supplied by a company called UT Starcom out of China, and they have a base also here in America. We also have an NGN mobile network supplied by Alcatel-Lucent, and we've been a customer of theirs for many years, and they've just actually been over to the Channel Islands testing their LTE solution, which they want to actually develop with us in terms of small operators as we are. As you see here, our 2010 revenues are nothing like you've heard today, $165 million roughly, and by the end of this year we will have grown that to just under $200 million. We are a full-service provider, so we provide global solutions both for the consumer and for business. And we have, as I said before, we have fixed mobile and broadband solutions. So we really have to be quite nimble, and we have to cut really fantastic deals with our suppliers to make sure that we can remain competitive. A lot of the domestic lines that we offer, obviously we have to wholesale to the competitors, so people like Cable and Wireless take our services. And again, we have to make sure that we put other value-added services over the top of that, because otherwise they can just undercut us on price. And that's something that we've been able to stop over the many years by being quite creative. And I think hopefully I can demonstrate we're quite an innovative company. We're looking for new partnerships, and we are aggressively looking for new global opportunities. This is just some of the brands we use, and just gives you an idea of some of the scale. JT is the brand we use in Jersey. Wave is the brand we use in our sister island called Guernsey, and we're competing head-to-head there as the competitor and not the incumbent. And we've just acquired a company called eKit and Telestial, who supply international services for cheaper roaming out of the US, out of Melbourne, and out of the UK. So we're acquiring new businesses that complement what we do and hopefully provide new services to our customers to allow them to roam on a cheaper basis, because we have international interconnect partnerships around the globe. We have every country, and probably in every country we interconnect with at least 2 operators. So we are a global operator, but we obviously, to cut those roaming deals is not as easy for us, so we have to have a look at new solutions to be able to provide our customers to allow them to roam at a reasonable price. This is just a slide to show you our strategy, really, in terms of how we're moving forward and how we think we can survive in a global environment. Obviously, coming from the Channel Islands, we're competing head-to-head now with companies that are trying to come into the Channel Islands and take our customer base. So we have the gigabit aisles, and I'll come on to that in a bit more. We are going to develop a fibre to the home to our local customers to allow them to enjoy what we've been talking about here today, and we're going to do that very fast, and I'll talk about a bit more of that in the future. Streetwise is all about us having the right systems in place and the right processes. A lot of what we've been talking about here, making sure that we're nimble enough to be able to talk to entrepreneurs and startups so that we can allow us to develop new services and make sure that's a seamless process for people. We have a wholesale division as well, which we have to supply to our local operators. So we supply wholesale services to Cable and Wireless on island, and any other operator that gets a license in our environment, we have to supply access to our copper lines and in the future our fibre lines. And leveraging partnerships for me, is my key responsibility, is to make sure that we not only develop the partnerships with our customers, but also develop those partnerships with our suppliers. What we've successfully done over many years is make sure that when we select our suppliers, that they actually add extra value to us. They give us that marketing expertise, they give us that international reach. And you'll be pleased to know that we are looking for acquisitions and mergers. We are a profitable organisation. We are intending to grow. And so any company that comes to us with good ideas, we're open to in terms of investment, acquisitions or mergers. So I mentioned before, we're a full service provider. And that's quite challenging in a very small environment. And we supply, obviously, internet services to our local customers, but also we're a high net worth individuals in the island and also a large banking society. So international IP, international internet is absolutely critical to them, and reliability and resilience has to be there. So that's why we're a Tier 1 operator. They expect the same from us, from any other major operator around the globe. We do also build data centers. We've just completed our 6th data center now. And again, because of the type of customers that we operate to in the Channel Islands, they're very conscious about where the data is held. There's a lot of talk about cloud, but a lot of our customers are very nervous about that because they want to make sure that the data is always held within our jurisdiction so that the likes of governments can't get hold of that data. So that's very good for us because that allows us to hold that customer on island. We provide a wide range of voice and data services and private circuits. So on island, private circuits in between the islands, into the UK and worldwide through an MPLS network. So again, a complete suite of solutions that we have to provide to our customers. Here's just some of the partnerships that we have to work with. So even though we're small, we do have very large organisations that we work with. Obviously, BT, you'd expect that on the mainland. But we do work with Telstra and Verizon to provide MPLS solutions around the globe. Cisco is a key partner for us because a lot of the local networks are developed on Cisco, and our network is as well. And thank goodness we're a gold certified partner of Microsoft, considering I'm here today as well. So, and in terms of customers, here's a selection of some of the customers that we work with. We've probably got 18 of the top international banks in Jersey, and we supply just about all of their services on island. And their offshore jurisdiction is one of the most profitable areas of the banking business at the moment, and we all know what's happened to that. So they're actually well thought of, and in actual fact they're looking for innovation as well to be able to prove to a lot of the centralised headquarters back in the UK or in other jurisdictions that they can actually provide their telecommunications services in a much more innovative manner than if they're getting it from central procurement. So that's why they work with us. So I mentioned gigabit aisles, and a lot of talk about gigabit aisles here. And this for us is our next major development, and where I think this might be of interest to people in the audience here. And certainly I've actually taken a recent visit down to Israel, and there's a lot of companies down there who are a similar sort of area of development that's going on here. So we're putting fibre to the home, and we intend to do that over the next 3 to 5 years. Now, why can we do that? That's simply because we are a very small island, and our predecessors invested in the network heavily, meaning that we ducted right to the home. So for us to pull out the copper and put fiber in is actually going to be quite a relatively easy process. It's not going to be cheap, and we are going to need investment, and that probably investment's going to be between 40 and 50 million pounds. And for us, you can imagine that's a huge investment, but we believe it's absolutely critical for the future, because all we're seeing as well is that the bandwidth and the demands are going up more than we've ever seen before. So we will have a point-to-point infrastructure, and we will have this ubiquitous network, which we think will be a great opportunity for entrepreneurs and startups or even established companies to come and try their services in a closed environment and test that before they maybe go out on a global scale. So the JT Lab opportunity, this is nothing new for us. We've been working with a number of customers over the last decade who have come to us, who have asked us to provide services on a global scale. We're a big text messaging hosting environment, hub, in the Channel Islands, and we send millions of messages around the world. And we started that back in 2002 with a small company that came to us with an idea and said, can I use your network? I've been trying to get into Vodafone and Orange and all these companies, and they won't even let me in through the door. And we said, yes, of course, you can come and talk to us. And even in that time, we underwrote that investment by £1 million back in 2002 for the equipment that they needed to run their business. And they paid that back to us in 9 months. So we have some experience in terms of dealing with new startups and entrepreneurs who've got a great idea. And again, we've been quite nimble and quite agile in terms of turning that around into an established business. And that company's still with us today and delivering millions of pounds worth of revenue to us, which is fantastic. So the lab opportunity for us, and our lab is not a building like this with loads of tech heads in it. Our lab is the island. Our lab is our environment. Our lab is the people that work in our business and the people that we serve to our customers. And the good thing is we are a trusted brand, so that when we do go out and try new things, people are very open to those ideas. Obviously, but like the other operators we're talking about, we cannot go in there and offer unreliable services, so we still do have a proper test and development phase that everybody would have to go through to make sure that it's something that we can offer our customers reliably and it adds value. But this will, with the Gigabit Isles, we believe, create a unique environment for new businesses to try, whether it's IPTV, whatever solutions that you might want to run over a high bandwidth network, fiber to the home, will certainly give you a real environment to work with. This is not a test lab, this is a real environment, because we're going to roll this out to our customers regardless. And what we're looking for is new solutions that we can put over the top of that to add value. And hopefully attract businesses that will stick with us and use us as a hub to offer services, not just in the Channel Islands, but we're in easy reach of Europe. We're about 10 milliseconds away from about 250 million customers. So any of you that don't offer services in Europe at the moment, the Jersey could be a fantastic hub for you, and also obviously going back into the UK. So what it will do, we believe, is give an opportunity for customers to provide services. We have 90,000 people in Jersey, so it's like a very small town, city in the US, but it's in a very closed environment. We're creating an ecosystem here, and the demographics of our population are very similar to Europe, very similar to America, and obviously virtually identical to the UK. So using it as a test environment, I think, is a fantastic opportunity. And that gives you the opportunity to obviously test your technical and implementation issues, as we've talked about, what customer offerings work and what don't work, and also be able to build a much more solid commercial business plan. So many times I see people coming to me with a two-sided bit of paper saying, I've got this great idea, and there's no substance to it. And we think by giving companies the opportunity of building a really established business case based on real-time activity with customers is something that will be attractive and also be able to demand more funding from venture capitalists. So we believe we're a visionary telco. We can't afford to stay still. We can't afford to wait for new solutions. We have to go out looking for them, and we really are open to new ideas. And it's one of the reasons why we're here and trying to engage with a number of businesses to really understand how we can really build on what we've developed over many years. I think the climate in Jersey is very receptive to new technology. There's a lot of disposable income, and most of our customers now have adopted smartphones. There's about 70% penetration in Jersey for smartphones. So there's early adoption, and when the iPad came out and when the iPhone came out, we just couldn't get enough of them to supply our customers. And Apple, as you know, were very restrictive, and we had to be quite creative about finding a distributor actually here in the US that would sell to us direct. And we had to back that off with our own warranty. It was the only way we could get it. But if we didn't do that, then we would have probably suffered dramatically because of this sort of penetration. Just to give you another couple of examples of what we've done. This just a basic example is a bank that came to us, and they've been trying to develop an application for their international customers, obviously high net worth individuals who are based all around the world. They wanted an internet application that could allow them to access all of their funding very quickly. And they had tried to do this with a number of telcos, and they failed. And they came to us and said, would you work with us? And we said, yeah, of course, love to. And this is RBSI, by the way. So they do have their international division based in Jersey. They came to us, and we developed that over a couple of months. It was quite quick. We tested it on Ireland with a number of customers of theirs, and then it was so successful they rolled it out in less than 3 months. So we turned around something that was quite difficult for others to do very quickly, and again, that's because we're so close to our customer base. I mentioned UT Starcom before, who are our next generation network supplier. They've been an interesting company to work with. Obviously, there's a bit of a cultural difference there between Jersey and China, but we've worked through that. They've actually delivered it on time. It's now working, and as I said, all of our customers will be on that IP network by the end of this month. And because they've seen what we're doing on our island with the fiber rollout and with all of the other innovative solutions that we're running, they've decided to move their R&D and test and development site out of Dublin into Jersey. And they want to be part of this. And the reason why they want to do that is obviously because they want to generate more sales. So they can see by working with us with this network and demonstrating it live that when other businesses, other telcos around the globe look for their switch, then they've got a live environment to come and demo. And we're happy because hopefully what that will mean are that other applications running over the top of the NGN will benefit our customers long term, and hopefully this will also generate lots more revenue for us. So this is a little map. Jersey, this is a tiny little island just off of France and 100 miles from the UK. So we're absolutely tiny in terms of the geographic scale, and as I said, it's probably one of the smallest Tier 1 operators you'll ever hear from. But hopefully it gives you a flavour that we are developing. We cannot afford to be slow. We have to innovate, and we have to work with partners very closely to ensure that we can survive. And we don't want to only survive, we want to grow. We have to grow because, as everybody knows who works in telecommunications, it's a very aggressive environment. But I mentioned before, just in the chat with Derek, we are a self-governing British Crown dependency. But it does mean that we have our own laws so that we can, in terms of regulation, our own regulation is developed on Ireland. And I have personal relationships with the regulator and the Chief Minister. So in terms of making it easy for businesses to come to the Channel Islands, it's not like you've been able to speak to the President of the US. Well, my President, I know I can give him he's on my phone, actually. But we do have the 6th highest GDP in the world. Now, that is incredible for an island, and that's been built up because of the finance sector. And 2% of the world's wealth management comes through Jersey. So you can see, 2% is not a lot, but out of the whole world, that's pretty impressive. And as I said, we are a gateway to Europe. And this just gives you an indication of sort of the level of development we've made over the years because of that financial sector. We have submarine cables going into France, and we have submarine cables going into the UK. and it's a complete diverse network. And it's probably the most resilient network you'll see of any other jurisdiction, I would think, around the globe. And if we don't have that, as you can imagine, with the amount of traffic that we put through our network for the banking systems, if it goes down for even a couple of minutes, you can imagine all hell breaks loose. And what happens to me is when I walk down the high street, I can see the CEO of that bank who's just had problems, and I can assure you it makes me make sure that our network is pretty solid. So what are the advantages? Well, it's a very low tax environment. There is no capital gains tax. There is no corporate tax. It's a flat rate tax for all individuals. So that's why we have a lot of these high net worth individuals coming to the Channel Islands and investing their money. It is a center of excellence. We are world renowned for that. We have, as I mentioned, very close relationships with the government, and I'm here with the full support of the government as well to encourage new businesses to move to the Channel Islands and do business out of Jersey. And if we have to change the laws, if we have to change the regulatory regime, that can be done. There's always a way. But I think, in terms of that environment and being quite creative and flexible is absolutely key. And I think the DNA of our population gives another opportunity for test and development for new systems or services that you might have, but you can't get into the big telcos. I mean, we have this a lot where people come to us and say, I've got a brilliant idea, but I can't even get in through the front door. Nobody will even talk to me. Well, there's, as was mentioned before with latent telecommunications, there's me and a very small team, and we have a board of 8 of us, and we can make very quick decisions. So just to wrap up, Jersey is pretty unique, but if you want to get into Europe, or you want to get into the UK with new services, then we have the full telco solutions to support that. Our environment, as you can see, is robust and resilient. We have Tier 3 data centers. Okay, they're not going to be as large as some of the ones that we've talked about here, but they are of the same quality, and they have to be because our customers still demand that. So we put in a lot of effort to making sure that we have world-class solutions. And it is a high-growth economy. We are growing. Unlike you're seeing in the UK or Europe, Jersey is still growing. So that's just gives you a highlight of what we're doing, and just to let you know that we're open for business. I'm here to really sort of gauge what the appetite might be and really where we position ourselves with new entrepreneurs. So thank you very much indeed.
All right. Thank you. Let's go to Q&A. I see the mics in the middle. But there's a question right there to the center.
Hi. I was wondering if you sell the devices, the endpoints with your services, and if so, how you manage to get scale, or do you brand it yourself, or how you manage that?
By doing a good deal. But we do, yes. We have the endpoints in terms of all of the, obviously in terms of customer premises equipment. So we obviously have relationships with people like Mitel and Cisco. And the way we do that is really to try, as I mentioned before, try and partner with these big organizations so that we're not just buying the systems for our clients, but also we try and make sure that for Cisco, we use a lot of Cisco equipment in our network. So again, we can get some economies of scale by doing a good deal and saying, well, we'll buy the whole lot off of you as long as you make sure that you position us with the likes of our competitors, because as you can imagine, the likes of Cable and Wireless, they global organization, but we are able to negotiate good rates with these clients, with these suppliers, I should say. Sorry.
Do you do any consortium purchasing? I know Dr. TELUS Mobility in Canada for CDMA carriers had a little consortium of smaller CDMA carriers.
Yeah, we have. There is the Telecom Operators Society of small telcos around the globe, and every year we get together and we try and negotiate better rates in terms of handsets. It's not always successful because it's quite difficult, yep. But we've just engaged actually with a company called NetNet who are going to do our strategic procurement, because you're quite right, as we move forward we've got to make sure that we can keep those the costs down to make sure that we can compete.
So you talked about Cisco and Mitel. So are you largely going to IP-based phones? Is that
absolutely? I mean, we've been doing VoIP solutions for our customers for many years now. There's still a lot of customers that won't even entertain VoIP yet. So even you can see the development, but we've been introducing Mitel and Cisco VoIP solutions for many years.
Yep. You mentioned you turn the TDM off. And I don't think that can be understated how big a transition that is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a massive transition off of your legacy infrastructure onto an all IP, all fiber infrastructure, right?
Yep. And we've done that because if you remember about 5-10 years ago, obviously in the UK BT, we've got a switch called System X, a very common switch that was used going back 25-30 years. And they were talking about turning it off, and BT were going to have their next generation network up and running by 2012. And going back about 7 years, we were like, my goodness, we are going to be in a right pickle here because we are going to have a network that's going to cost us a fortune to support. And so we had to make a decision 7 years ago that we had to turn that off within that period of time to allow us to get the economies of scale.
Brilliant. So any other hands up there? I didn't see. Okay, great. So it sounds like a really interesting opportunity. I was saying it's we do have a question. Okay, we'll take the question. It's all these small telcos that offer an opportunity, maybe quicker decisions, yeses and nos, quicker tests and quicker deployments, and then maybe a stepping stone towards other deals for entrepreneurs and
absolutely,
and maybe a permanent location for a lot of people to base their data centers.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's about filtering the opportunities, and I think this is some of what was talked about here today. That's the difficult piece, and I think any operator, big or small, has that challenge. But if we can see an opportunity, we can make a very quick decision.
All right. Question from the middle?
Yeah, just a very simple question here. In terms of setting up operations there, what does that picture typically look like for earlier stage companies?
Again, I know just about every legal firm, every accountant of the major companies that operate in here. So we have companies, so another big business for us is e-gaming. We operate e-gaming out of Guernsey and Jersey, and we've got companies, if you may have heard them, Sporting Bet, and they run out of Guernsey, and in the same environment is for us in Jersey. And so the island is set up to encourage new businesses there, and has the experience to set up companies very quickly. So in terms of all the legal support, all the financial support you need, again, we can work very closely with government to make that an easy process.
All right. You know, I think I might have a unique distinction, too. You mentioned you bought Telestial. I might be your only customer currently in the room.
Oh, perfect. So, well, at least I got one.
So I know who to complain to now. Well, you might have more later on, we hope. All right, so thanks a lot, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.